They said the marriage would be a punishment, a lesson, a joke the whole county would laugh about for years. On the morning Caleb Turner was forced to the altar, the town square was already packed. People weren't there to celebrate. They were there to watch a spectacle. The richest rancher in the county, proud, stubborn, feared by most men and admired by most women, was being made to marry the one woman no man had ever chosen, Clara Whitmore. They called her the old maid behind her. Back, 32, unmarried, quiet, bookish, a woman who spoke little but saw everything. In a town that valued youth and charm, Clara was treated like leftover furniture, useful but never admired. Caleb stood stiff in his coat, jaw locked. He wasn't there by choice. A legal dispute over grazing rights had turned ugly. When the county judge discovered Caleb had illegally fenced public land, the town council offered a strange alternative to jail and a crushing fine. He would marry Clara, whose family's failing homestead bordered that same land. The marriage would legally merge the properties, settle the dispute, and restore moral balance, as the judge dramatically put it. It was less a sentence and more a public humiliation. Caleb glanced at Clara as she approached. She wore a simple cream dress, clean but old. No veil, no bouquet, no trembling hands. Her face was calm, too calm, and that unsettled him. When the vows were spoken, the crowd snickered. Some openly laughed. Clara didn't flinch. She said, "I do," like she was signing a business contract. Caleb muttered his response, eyes fixed forward. The moment the ceremony ended, the county believed the story was over. They were wrong. Because Clara Whitmore had not entered that marriage as a victim. She entered with a plan. That first night at the ranch, Caleb expected tears, arguments, pleading. Instead, Clara unpacked a single trunk, placed her books neatly on a shelf, and asked one question. "Where are your ledgers?" Caleb blinked. "My what?" "Your ranch accounts," she said. "If we're married, I assume we're partners. I'd like to review the finances. No fear, no apology, just calm authority." He laughed, a short, sharp sound. "You don't review anything. You stay out of my way, and we both survived this arrangement." Clara met his eyes. For the first time, he saw steel there. "Then you'll go bankrupt within a year," she replied, and walked away. That night, Caleb couldn't sleep. Her words echoed. He knew the ranch was struggling. Drought had hit hard. Cattle prices were falling. He'd hidden the severity of it from everyone. Except somehow, she knew. Over the next weeks, Clara didn't act like a wife. She acted like a strategist. She rose before sunrise, studied the land, questioned the ranch hands, and quietly reorganized operations. She cut waste, renegotiated supply contracts, and introduced crop rotation. Techniques she'd learned from agricultural journals no one else in town had even heard of. The men...
Two-thirds mocked her at first. Until profits started rising. Caleb watched in stunned silence as the ranch stabilized. Then flourished. Within 3 months, Turner Ranch was outperforming every competitor in the county. And Clara never once asked for credit. But the town noticed. The laughter stopped. Whispers began. And whispers, in a small county, were more dangerous than gunfire. Because people don't like it when the woman they dismissed becomes the one holding power. And Clara Whitmore was only getting started. If this story is pulling you in already, make sure you subscribe, because what happens next turns a forced marriage into the biggest reckoning this county has ever seen. Success made enemies. By autumn, Turner Ranch was thriving. Buyers came from neighboring counties. Caleb's name regained prestige, but everyone knew whose mind was behind the transformation. Clara never sought attention, yet attention followed her like a storm cloud. And storms make people nervous. The town council grew uneasy. The same men who mocked her now felt threatened. A woman reshaping the county's economic balance was not something they could comfortably ignore. So they dug. And they found Clara's past. Years earlier, her father had lost their original ranch in a suspicious land deal. The buyer. The very judge who had forced Caleb into marriage. The same council that laughed at her wedding had quietly orchestrated her family's ruin. The marriage wasn't random. It was containment. They believed tying her to Caleb would bury her influence. Instead, they handed her a platform. When Clara discovered the truth, she didn't cry. She didn't rage. She did what she always did. She prepared. At the Winter County meeting, the most public gathering of the year, Clara arrived uninvited. The hall fell silent when she stepped inside. Caleb walked beside her, no longer a reluctant husband, but an ally. She carried a stack of papers. Calmly, she laid them on the table. Contracts, forged signatures, hidden transfers, proof of corruption spanning 2 decades. Every secret the council thought buried was now exposed in the center of the room. The judge tried to laugh it off. Until Clara began reading names. One by one. Every stolen acre. Every falsified deed. Every family pushed into poverty. The crowd shifted from discomfort to fury. Farmers recognized their own losses in her words. The room ignited. The council had expected a quiet woman. They faced a reckoning. By sunrise, the judge resigned. Investigations began. Land was restored. And Clara Whitmore, once the town's joke, became its unexpected architect of justice. But the greatest shock wasn't the scandal. It was Caleb. Standing before the crowd, the proud rancher removed his hat and said, "She didn't save my ranch. She saved this county. And I married the strongest person I know." There was no laughter, only respect. Years later, people would still talk about the day the old maid reshaped their world. Not as gossip, but as legend. And every legend starts with someone underestimated. If you want more stories about underestimated people changing everything, subscribe now, because the next story might shake you just as much.